Holy crap, what is that? Oh, that's amazing. Hello folks! We are back with another tour. Some fun places we'll be going to over the next week, some of which you may actually be familiar with. I wanted to start the video here because apparently there's this lemur or monkey or sloth or something that, by surprise, I just saw climbing up this tree. I didn't know this was the climate for such creatures to be climbing up trees. Anyway, today we start off our excellent journey in Letchworth State Park. I designated a trip in my home state of New York, with many different stops along the way, but I think it's too basic of me to just go to a trip and visit the known places of New York. Specifically, I didn't want to spend a week in New York City and Long Island and all those places. You already know what that is. You've already seen the iconic landmarks and stuff. I mean, every vlog channel usually covers New York City at some point. So I wanted to do things a little differently. I wanted to do my own Get Out of New York City tour. And so I have a whole itinerary of things planned in upstate New York, as far away as possible from everything going on in New York City and that region. So without further ado, let's begin our tour of upstate New York. And in this video, Letchworth State Park. And seriously, it's the middle towards the end of May, and it's really nice to see New York State finally catching up with the rest of the country in terms of weather. These trees and leaves and all the green scenery probably did not exist a couple weeks ago. So finally, it's a nice sight, and it's perfect time for the weather. Finally, it's warm enough that you can do things in New York State without freezing to death. Here is the story behind Letchworth State Park. So, much of upstate New York, geologically speaking, is really old. And I'm talking before Pangea, before that supercontinent. I'm talking almost billions of years old. And so, a lot of the terrain in upstate New York was developed over time through original formation of the Appalachian Mountain system, and then later the erosion of that big mountain chain to a little bit smaller of a mountain chain. And so over time, over millions and millions of years, just the way the mountains formed and how the streams and lakes developed as a result of the elevation and the gradient, it formed what is known as the Genesee River. And now this river starts at the top of the dissected plateau that upstate New York, especially western New York, is famous for. And it goes all the way down into Lake Ontario. So up here in upstate New York, the Appalachian Mountains are still sort of a thing, but the mountains are less steep. And instead of actual concrete mountains, you get what's called a dissected plateau, which means the elevation is gradually consistent throughout the area. It's just that there are lots and lots of valleys. It's not just a flat, plain area. But onward we go on the trail. We gotta find these things I'm about to talk to you about soon, right? Doesn't the trail lead to something? So back to the geology story. The thing I was saying about the natural development of the terrain over millions and millions of years, that's only half the equation. I'm sure all of you have known about the Ice Age, that thing where the Earth gets really, really cold. Around the glacial maximum, around 10,000, 12,000 years ago, there was this big glacier that pretty much covered all of New York State. But as the planet got warmer and warmer, ice melts, and so the glacier retreats up north to the places where it's still cold at that time. So because of that, you get this pattern where the glaciers are eroding a lot of the land. And so that's why you get things like the Finger Lakes. They were these markings left by the glacial push backward. So, long story short, natural development of the Earth plus fun Ice Age stuff with glaciers equals what we're about to see. And this is what Letchworth State Park is most known for. Okay, so I've been walking on the wrong trail the whole time. One thing to know, if you ever visit Letchworth State Park, go on the right trail. You don't want to end up like me walking about a mile for nothing. Let's actually find the right trail, shall we? There's not even a "You Are Here" sign. Where am I? This is exactly what I was talking about. Millions of years of geology leading up to this. Seems like a combination between Niagara Falls and the Grand Canyon. I mean, there's a reason this place, Letchworth State Park, is called the Grand Canyon of the East. It's probably what the Grand Canyon would be if it were a little more wet and less dry. Up here, you could really see all the layers of rock on that canyon. Those eons and eons of erosion. This is exactly what you can find when you step out of New York City and its area and go to these hidden gems. Because upstate New York is just such a beautiful place. But very underrated, sadly. Oh, what a better picture of the falls itself. So as it comes down, you can see the crystalline colored waters of the Genesee River. And this eventually leads into Lake Ontario. Geology's cool, ain't it? I was told by another passerby coming my way that that's not the only waterfall in this park, in this area of the park. There's two more, so if we can find just one more, we'd be golden. I'd call it a full trip then. Alright, just go left. Oh my goodness! Can you believe that sometimes it gets so cold, so snowy that nobody wants to even get out of their house in this area? Yeah, I wouldn't believe myself either. I know this place all too well. It's horrible during the winter. Right now in May, well, it's a totally different story. It's nice and beautiful. This place seems almost heavenly. It's a rainbow! There's this clean, natural, divine scent nearby the waterfall. Probably just the mist. I think this completes the journey. We've now seen two waterfalls at this gorge. And I'm feeling pretty happy. So, if you want a lovely natural experience, the canyons, the waterfalls, but without all the people in places like the Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls, bring yourself to Letchworth State Park. Because it's surely a treat you will not regret going to. Well, I guess that just about completes it. Admiring this heavenly gaze of the waterfall. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.